Right, so for tonight's planting we're going in 2 and a bit parts. So first up tonight we are going to be planting something that I made a mistake on last time. So I call this Uapaca, but when they were flowering in the nursery I thought it was a male flower, and I thought it was maybe a male Uapaca flower because I'd not really ever noticed those in the wild. When I got home and looked at it closer, it did have female parts as well, and actually they're just recessed female parts, which is typical of a family called the Combrataceae, which here includes mostly Combretum and Terminalia. And Terminalia is one we have a few of around, and by the leaf arrangement I think this should be a Terminalia because they're all clustered in rosettes towards the end of the bud. But I'm not sure which Terminalia this would be if so, so we're just going to put it down as Terminalia sp. But anyway, this is going in a nice shady spot, so it doesn't really need a companion marker plant or shade plant. It also doesn't need a ground cover plant because we've got a lot of Plectanthus neochilus which I've had to sort of scoop out of the way for this planting, and as this gets watered that will fill right back in very quickly. But I am going to give it a sort of mid-sized ground cover, the sort of thicket/ground cover one, in the form of an Aloe CF Neriensis, which is one of the more shade-tolerant aloes. I think it's a Kenyan one, but I'm not 100% sure, but Neriensis is the best I can guess for this one. Second up tonight, anyone who pays close attention to the list down below will notice that it's gone down a few numbers today because I have gone around watering the 3rd time a lot of these saplings since I got back, and although some of them are really starting to spring back into life, mostly the Ananaceae and the Artocarpus are really recovering really well, and actually the starfruit too. Some others are really not, and actually one of the Artocarpus, so the jackfruit, has not recovered and is actually pretty clearly dead at this point. So we're going to be replacing that with a tree whose fruit you could almost get confused with the jackfruits, although there's not many fruits you can say that for, but Soursop is one that I have seen people get mixed up as to which one they are looking at. So this is a type of Central American sort of giant custard apple, as opposed to the South Asian jackfruit, which is basically a sort of monstrous mulberry by relation. And because we're putting this right where the jackfruit was, and the companion plants of that jackfruit have been doing all right, this really shouldn't need any additional companion plants. And for a 2.5 bit, it is the birthday today of my friend Pete, for whom Pete's Dragon, which is a Dracaena fragrance surrounded by all sorts of other Dracaenas, was planted in memory. So I thought I would go and check on how that is doing earlier today. And yes, the mole rats this week have got in, and they have, as I said they would, enjoyed some of the Sansevieras around there. They don't seem to have touched the Sansevieria pearsoni, but they have had a really good go at a lot of the others. So I'm going to take away a couple of pieces that I think I can reroot elsewhere, replant a few of the bits that should be okay here, and a few of the bits that I'm not sure anything can be done for, just in case they can reroot here. And with that, we're going to be planting something as a sort of birthday present to Pete, in the form of something that is not usually tree-sized, but can occasionally, in the far northwards range, reach tree-like proportions. But if it does that, it'll probably be long after I'm dead. So this is Encephalatos ferox, which is one of the African cycads. It's wonderfully prickly, like a lot of the African cycads are, and being a cycad, it is chemically very, very different to everything else I've planted this year, actually. So it shouldn't really need much in the way of a toxic barrier, but I am going to be surrounding it with some Tugelicliff's Kalanchoe, the Kalanchoe longiflora, which is, again, a very different toxin to what's in the Dracaenas, so it should at least give the mole rats something to think about if they bump into it and realise that they don't want to nibble everything here. And that should be everything for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow, because I will be planting something else, two something else's, probably, but I'm not sure what, so we'll see.